Good morning, everyone. My name is Josh Goldberg, and I'm a clinical exercise physiologist here at Copeman Healthcare Center in Vancouver. If this is your first time tuning in to our Walk and Talk segment, welcome. For those returning viewers, welcome back. I'm holding off on a guest today just because I want to introduce how to do some intervals. This is going to be our first time incorporating intervals, so it'll be helpful for me to educate you about how to incorporate them safely. And then in between, while we're doing the rest periods in between the intervals, I can review some of the key takeaways from last week's walk and talks. So overall, today's walk and talk is going to be a little bit shorter, probably closer to 30 minutes, but I promise you it will still be a great 30 minutes of movement. So without further ado, let's get walking. So just as usual, we're going to start with walking on the spot, and I'm going to start again with a few tips and reminders as we get started. So we really appreciate you joining us to conduct some exercise in the comfort of your own home while practicing physical distancing. Keeping yourself at home is not only keeping you safe, but also everyone around you too. And I can't express enough gratitude to everyone's commitment to staying home and really tackling this thing all together. Now, as always, first and foremost, everyone's safety is our top priority. If you have had any issues with the waiver or the physical activity questionnaire, or have had any recent changes to your physical or medical status, please don't hesitate to contact us. We want your activity to both be safe and enjoyable. Now, second, just a reminder that you can walk on a spot like I'm doing. You can run on the spot like I'll probably do a little bit today. You can even join us while you're using your treadmill, stationary bike, elliptical, or any other piece of equipment that you have access to. Just follow along and keep the intensity at a light to moderate pace until I instruct you to go harder or easier. And just as I start to breathe a little harder here and warm up, a good reminder that now is a good time to open a window, open a door, maybe turn the fan on, get a little bit of good ventilation in the room so it doesn't heat up like it is outside. Now, for those walking on the spot, a few reminders. Wear comfy shoes. We talked a little bit about shoes last week with Costa, our physiotherapist. For walking, make sure you're wearing a nice pair of comfortable shoes. The second one is to walk on a soft surface. I just have to look down to see how my soft towels are doing. Just a reminder that the soft surface can be easier on the joint, but it might make things a little bit more challenging in terms of balance. So consider being close to a wall. You can see I've got the wall right beside me, or having a chair in front of you just for that extra support should you start to feel a little unsteady. Now, I've stressed posture and technique in the last week, just because good technique is so important to not getting injured and also to maximizing the benefits of the activity. So as a reminder, good posture includes having your head nice and tall, shoulders back, keeping your chest high. Now, engaging your core. So if you remember last week, I introduced two cues: brace for the punch and hold a P. So bracing for the punch is stiffening that abdominal wall. Holding the P is getting those lower abdominal muscles engaged. Imagine you have to pee really bad, you gotta hold that P in for a while till you get to the washroom. So those two things are important. I try to remind myself of those consistently throughout this exercise bout. And so hopefully if I remind myself, it's also a reminder for you guys. So once you've got the head nice and tall, the shoulders are back, the chest is nice and high, you're engaging those core muscles. We're going to incorporate the arm motion so they're in sync with the legs. So if you have to go a little bit slower to get that technique, by all means, please do, because that, as I said, that good technique is essential to avoiding injury. And as we start to, or some of us, maybe engage in a little bit of running on the spot, timing those arms with the legs can be really important to do running on the spot technique. So we've got the head up nice and tall, shoulders are back, chest is nice and high, we're engaging the core. The last thing we want to do is find that balance between lifting the knees nice and high and also the turning over or stepping a little bit faster. So find the balance that works for you between the knees high and the legs faster. Now, like last week, we're going to start things off by keeping things at a light to moderate pace for about 7 to 8 minutes. I've got my timer just on my other screen there, so if I look to the left, it's just to look at our timer. We're coming up on about 4.5 minutes here. Probably about 4 minutes of walking time. So we're going to keep things at a light to moderate pace for 7 to 8 minutes. If you start to breathe, you might start to breathe a little bit deeper, but at no point should you really have any difficulty talking. You can hear me. I'm breathing a little bit, but I can still carry on a conversation. So if saying a sentence is too difficult, then you're probably going a little bit too hard, at least for this introductory warm-up period. Now after 7 to 8 minutes, we're gonna start some higher intensity intervals. Today, we're gonna stick to 1 minute intervals. So during the intervals, I want you to either step a little bit faster or have the knees be a little bit higher. And I apologize, I'm looking down so I can keep my balance while I increase this, either how high I'm bringing up my knees or how fast I'm taking my steps. So when you're doing the intervals, you feel that the intensity or the difficulty of the exercise is increased. So saying a normal sentence might become difficult because it's going to be interrupted by your breathing. That is okay. You're probably going to hear me. Well, you're not going to hear me. I'm probably going to shut up during the intervals so that I can focus and go a little bit harder. You might hear a little bit of our music. But for you, yeah, your breathing rate should definitely come up. And saying a normal sentence might become a little bit difficult. That's okay. Now, as mentioned, we're going to sustain the interval for just 1 minute. So then we're going to return to this normal pace for 2 minutes, and then we're going to repeat that 6 more times for a total of 7 minutes of intervals. And we're just coming up on about 6 minutes of our warm-up here. So keeping the chest up nice and high, head nice and high, shoulders back, chest high as well, engaging that core, pumping the arms. And I was actually looking back at a little bit of stuff we made last week, and I probably could do a better job of pumping the arms to match the legs. Good. So let's just do that for another minute or minute and a half or so, and then we'll start doing some intervals. So about another minute of warm up here. So as I said, we're going to do 1 minute intervals, 2 minutes of recovery, and then we're going to repeat that 7 times total, or we're going to repeat that 6 times for 7 times total, and then cool down for about 5 minutes. And in total, that should lead to about 30 minutes of walking and maybe a little bit of running on the spot. So a great workout. At all times, I really want to stress, listen to your body. If at any point in the activity starts to feel uncomfortable or unsafe, stop and contact us using the chat box if you're watching this live. And if you're at any point concerned about your balance, don't hesitate. You can just put your hand next to the wall or hand on the chair for support while you're doing the interval, okay? So about 20 more seconds here, and then we're gonna get started with the first interval. Okay, so for those who are gonna run on the spot, I'll probably walk on the spot for the first few and then run on the spot later on. Really just make sure to lift up those knees nice and high, engage that core for balance, and keep the arms pumping. So about 5 seconds here, then we're gonna do the first minute, and let's go. So 1 minute, a little bit faster, head nice and tall, shoulders back, chest up, engage the core. Here we go. Good, about 20 more seconds, everyone. Great work. 10 seconds. And back to your easy pace. That was hard. Good work. So just some reminders when we're doing the intervals, and right now we're keeping it nice and easy, but during the interval, find that balance between getting the knees nice and high and having the legs turn over a little bit faster. You're stepping faster. But at all times, keep that head up, shoulders back, chest nice and tall. Engage those postural stabilizing core muscles, pump the arms. Okay, so we're about 40 seconds into the rest period here. The first thing you learn about interval exercise is the rest period never seems to be long enough. The interval takes forever, and the rest period just flies by. But the first during these rest period, I want to introduce a couple of things about intervals. Now, the first, when I'm prescribing interval exercise to people, the first thing I like to focus on is the amount of time we're doing hard work, or the actual total time we're doing the intervals. And I prefer to keep that hard time between about 5 and 15 to 16 minutes. So for example, today we're doing 7 minutes of hard work because we're doing 7 by 1 minute intervals. Now, if you want to do a longer interval, like 3 minutes, then we maybe wouldn't do 5 of them, or we wouldn't do 7 of them, we would do closer to 5 of them for a total of 15 hard minutes. And if you want to know, the classic interval workout used in a lot of the health studies is what we call the 4x4 workout. So you do 4 repeats of 4-minute intervals for a total of 16 minutes of work. So we're going to go and work up to this. Now we've got about 10 more seconds until we're going to come into the second interval. So remember, 1 minute, use the wall or a chair for support if you need to, and up we go. So I'm going to come into a bit of one here. Pumping the arms, knees up nice and high. "20 seconds down. "20 more seconds. And 5 seconds. And down. Good, and just back to normal walking. Give me a moment, I just gotta catch my breath. Okay. Now, even while we're recovering, we still want to have that good form. So head up nice and tall, shoulders back, chest high, engage that torso, pump the arms. And I hope I did an okay job of keeping the arms pumping during that minute of running on the spot. So I'd say that was pretty hard. For me, that was probably, but definitely couldn't keep a sentence going for that minute. So we're just coming up on about a minute of our 2 minutes of recovery. And so the second general rule that I like to say for intervals is that the recovery period, or the rest period, should be of a similar or longer length of the interval. So today we're doing 1 minute intervals, but 2 minutes of recovery. So if you do, say, a 2 minute interval, then you can do a 2 minute, 3 minute, or 4 minute recovery. So this is a really good general rule if your intervals are less than 4 minutes long. And your recovery period can really kind of be up to 5 minutes. You don't really necessarily have to go longer than 5 minutes. So today, 1 minute interval, 2 minutes of recovery. If I were doing 2 minute intervals, I'd probably do 2 to 3 minutes of recovery. If I were doing 4 minute intervals, I'd do about 4 minutes of recovery. So as a reminder, recovery period, similar or longer length of the actual work interval. So about 5 more seconds here, then we're going up to interval number 3. I'm going to do another walking one. So we're going to go in 2, 1, and up we go. Good. Head nice and high, shoulders back, chest up, pump the arms, engage that core. Good work. Good, about 25 more seconds, everyone. Great work right now. Ten more seconds. And good. Back to the recovery. So we need 2 minutes of recovery here. We're gonna do one more 1 minute interval. And then during the next 2 minute break, we're gonna all grab a sip of water. So as I said, even during the recovery period, focus on that posture. Head up, shoulders back, chest nice and high. Be confident. Engage those torso muscles, that core. I'm starting to get a sweat on that, that's for sure. So I hope you are feeling like you're working a bit harder as well. Good, so about 45 seconds into this recovery period. So first general rule I told you guys, how hard or the length of time you should be going hard should be a total of about 5 to 15 or 16 minutes. The second rule, or the second general piece of guidance I have for intervals is you want to make the recovery period as long or longer than the interval. And the way I like to think about that is you want the intervals to be as best as they can be. And so if you go too hard when you're trying to recover, then you're just the actual interval itself, you're not going to be able to go very fast or very hard. And so the quality of the workout's going to be a lot worse. So that kind of speaks to the third point, which is when I really want you to try and go a little harder, a little faster than your easy pace during the interval. And then really keep it easy in between. So with that, a phrase I really like is make your hard days hard and your easy days easy. Or in the context of this workout, make your hard intervals hard and your easy recovery periods easy. So as I said earlier, you can use a talk test, you can just get that general sense of how hard you're going. And I'm cutting myself off here because we're going to start that fourth interval right now. Here we go. So 1 minute, I'm going to do some running on the spot. Good, 15 seconds in. Good, 25 more seconds, everyone. Great work. Seconds. Good, and stop. Okay, so just keep the legs moving, and let's go grab a sip of water. Okay. Good, so you want to always keep the body moving during your recovery period. So the last thing you want to do is just come to a full stop. So about a minute into this recovery, you've got 3 more intervals, 1 minute each. And then a little bit of easy recovery, and then you are done your walk and talk for today. So I'm really proud of you for joining us, getting in 30 minutes of movement, whether it's just on the spot, whether it's on the bike, or whether it's walking on the spot, running on the spot. You're on your treadmill, you're on your bike, maybe you're on an elliptical or some other piece of equipment. And anyway, you've moved for 30 minutes. I'm proud of you for that. You're keeping yourself healthier. And if you're staying healthy, everyone around you is staying healthy too. So. Good, about 20 more seconds here. And I apologize, I keep looking down to just make sure that the towel and the setup I've got is staying in place. When I start to move a little bit faster, then the towel starts to move a little bit. So I'm just trying to make sure that's staying fairly stable. Okay, so a couple seconds here, then we're going up. And here we go, interval number 5. 1 minute. Good, about 25 more seconds, everyone. Doing great. Keep that head up, chest back, or shoulders back, chest up. 15 seconds. And down, good. Okay. So we got 5 down, 2 to go. Really good work so far. So again, keep that good form, keep that good posture, even during the recovery periods. Your head up, chest up, shoulders back. Engage that core. Keep the arms moving. You might be starting to feel like your body's getting a little bit tired, getting a little bit sore. I know my calves are for sure getting a little sore. It's a movement I'm not used to, so I'm going to keep that in mind. Might do a walking one and then finish with a running one. We'll see. Another thing is that, you know, for me, I find variety to be the spice of life. So sometimes I like to go focus on feet faster. Other times I like to focus on knees higher and just mix between the two, just for some variety, just to keep things interesting. So I know I've stressed earlier, if you find that balance between getting the knees high and turning and walking fast, don't hesitate to try both. Try getting the knees up high for a little bit. That's gonna come with the feet moving a little bit slower. Other times, try having the knees be a little bit lower, but turn over the feet a little bit faster. That variety can be in some weird way enjoyable. Good, so we have about 15 seconds here, then we're going up to interval number 6. Second to last one. If you're not feeling like you're sure, don't hesitate. You can always take this one off and come back to the last one, or just go to recovery altogether. So up we go. Interval number 6, 1 minute. Here we go. I'm gonna walk, try to get those knees nice and high, and keep the steps nice and fast. Good work, everyone. 25 seconds in here. Twenty more seconds. Good work. Ten seconds. Good work, everyone. And back to easy pace. Okay. Good work, everyone. So just to, we got about a minute and 45 to the last interval here. I want to review a couple of things we talked about last week. So when I talked to you guys last Tuesday, I had some key answers to questions I get a lot in the clinic. We talked about the best form of exercise. We brought up the squat. We brought up interval walking. Interval walking is what we're doing today. We brought up that, in my opinion, the best exercise for you or the best activity for you is just something you can do consistently, that you enjoy doing and you can do often for a long period of time. Stress that you don't necessarily have to solve everything with intensity. I know we're doing some intervals today, So some intensity is good, but you don't have to do this every day. You don't have to do this tomorrow and the day after and the day after. You can join me again on Friday. I'm going to do another interval workout, and that's going to be plenty. This was brought up a little bit with Costa. We talked about the terrible twos, the too much and too soon. And with Costa, we also talked about how too much can mean you're training, but you're doing overuse, versus too soon can be that just you're not prepared for how much you're doing that fast. And so really the terrible twos, too much too soon, can lead to injury, overuse, or that lack of preparedness injury. We talked about how if you don't like to run, then you don't have to. Just like today, if you don't want to run on the spot, you can perfectly happily walk on the spot. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be active at all. So if you don't run, that doesn't mean do nothing. It just means try something else. And same thing, if you don't like going to the gym, that doesn't mean you don't do any strength. It just means, oh, let's figure out something else in terms of strength and overall just to move. So with that, we're coming up to the last interval here. And up we go, 1 minute, last one. Let's make it count. Good, 20 seconds in, everyone. Great work. Twenty-five more seconds. Ten more. 4, 3, 2, 1. And done. Good work. So don't stop moving. We're going to walk it out nice and easy for about 5 minutes here. Keep that good form. Head up, chest back. Sorry, head up, chest up, shoulders back. Engage those core muscles. Pump the arms. So, just went over a couple of things we talked about on Tuesday. Last Friday, we had our physiotherapist here in Vancouver, Costa Economou, come join us. He talked about the great benefits of exercise in terms of cardiovascular benefits, metabolic benefits, body composition, just the vast number of health benefits from walking and even just moving in general. But along those lines of the terrible twos, you might develop some overuse injuries if you're unprepared for the amount of walking or running you're going to try and do. So we really stress, know your floor, that's your current level of fitness, and know your ceiling, so that's the fitness or running goal that you want to get to. And then gradually progress from your floor to your ceiling. And so like last week, we did a couple of just 30-minute walking on the spot. Today, we've introduced a little bit of intervals, and we're going to slowly add them over the course of the next few weeks. And then focusing on a little bit of strength exercise can be really beneficial to complement that walking or running. So we've got, check into Kogan TV, we had a strength workout yesterday with Melanie. We've got another one coming later this week on Thursday. We've got a great, I think, Matt and Pilates workout tomorrow, 3. And then it continue on next week with more strength, mobility, and walk and talk cardio workouts. So we've been covering for about 2 minutes here. I think so we're going to go for about 3 more minutes. So let's just review some of the things we talked about with intervals. So first, the amount, or what I recommend to people is to have a total hard time or interval time of about 5 to 15 or 16 minutes. So for example, today we did 7 repeats of 1 minute. So we did 7 minutes of hard work. In the future, we might do 3 or 4 minute intervals, in which case we're not going to do 7 of them. We'll probably do closer to 3 or 4. Now, regardless, it's really important to progress the length of the intervals in the coming weeks. So, like I said, today we did 7, and we'll build that up slowly over time, but we're going to really try to avoid doing too much too soon. The second key general guideline I like to recommend to people is that the recovery period should be a similar or longer length to the workout interval. So today we did 1 minute hard, 2 minutes easy. If I'm going a little bit of a longer interval, then I might do 2 minutes hard, 3 minutes easy, or 3 minutes hard, 4 minutes easy, or 4 minutes hard, 4 minutes easy. So modify the recovery period so that it's always a similar or longer length of interval, up to an interval length of about 4 minutes. Third, like I really, as we continue to progress and get used to this form of exercise, really try to go a little faster and a little harder than your easy pace when we're doing that interval. So, as I said before, you can make your hard days hard and your easy days easy. In the context of this workout, make your hard intervals hard and your easy recovery periods easy. You can use the walk and talk test as a guide to judge how hard the activity is. You can just kind of listen to your body. You feel like you're sweating a little bit, heart rate's up, you're breathing harder. Then you're working a little bit harder. And as you progress, you can also use things like the RPE scale. If you really want to, you can use a heart rate monitor, power meter, things like that. But the simplest one is really just kind of gauge your difficulty, use the walk and talk test, and then probably the next simplest one is the RPE scale. So we'll cool down for about 30 more seconds here, and then we're all done. I want to say thank you for joining us again today. It's fantastic. We've done another 30 minutes of walking for those keeping count. Done about an hour and a half of walking on the spot in the past week and a half. For those who might be new to activity, that's amazing. That's an hour and a half more activity than you might be used to, or just an hour and a half more activity on top of what you've already been doing. So I'm really proud of you for that. Please join me again on Friday. I believe we've got a great guest coming, and we'll try and keep you informed in advance about who the guests are going to be and what the topics are. But a few last few seconds here. I'm going to have to wipe down my floor. I can see some sweat on. And grab a nice sip of water. So that's it for today. Great work. Thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again on Friday.